I was deemed as disabled and was able to get early retirement. Well, early disability. Well, I was able to get
Yes.
disability, and I was able to get Medicare early, so that I could pay for my bills and stuff. And boy,
Uh,
that was a tough thing for me and my family
yeah.
with the
And
cancer
it's
and
been,
all. And
and
I've been fighting that since 2009. And
I, what,
but the,
Wayne,
I'm sorry,
I want to go and so people understand. I want to,
Joe.
we're
I'm
on the
having
air and
problems hearing you. Audio is.
yeah, audio's breaking up a little bit. Let's go to Les real quick. Les
Yeah,
Leonard.
I can't even understand what you're saying.
All right,
All
Joe,
right.
thank you, Joe. I unmuted my microphone. I'm my name's Les Leonard. I'm from the Chicago area, and then I was recruited also by Johnny Majors out there. We came in with Bob Boss and Wayne, and but I think one thing, a couple things maybe I'd want your viewer or your listeners to know that football, sports in general, I think what taught me was your body can do more than you think it can when you're pushed and pushed and pushed. And the other thing would be that 5, 6 years ago, Carl Schumann and Wayne had a reunion for all of us in Florida, and I hadn't seen you guys in a long, long time, and it just thrilled my heart. I can remember riding home on the airplane just smiling, and my wife reminding me that 2 weeks later I'm still smiling because I hadn't seen you guys, and it was just absolutely wonderful to see all of you guys. So anyway, Joe, thanks for having me, and I'll see what Mr. Ramsey J has to say.
Yeah, Ramsey. You know what's amazing is people remember Ramsey J because I've had your son on multiple times, and Ramsey is the father of that remarkable young man. And Ramsey, thanks for joining us from California. Also,
Thanks, Joe. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me on, and just want to say hello to everyone. It's nice seeing you guys. I haven't seen some of you in a little while, but others I've seen more recently than that. But it's always nice to get together and be able to share some of the ideas and thoughts and things that we experienced, and also look forward as to where life is now and what we're doing as we go forward. And I want to thank Joe especially for giving my son a platform to be able to share his thoughts and his ideas. He's a pretty passionate guy about what he does and how he goes about doing it. And we have a very wonderful relationship. And just want to say thank you, Joe, for allowing him that platform to be able to share
Oh.
with his thoughts and his visions, and the things that he has going for him in life.
Well, Ramsey, he created that platform by being who he is. That's all. All I am is a funnel.
Well,
I
I get
wanted to.
a lot of people try to give me some of the credit, but I tell you, I had a lot of people pour into him over the years that allowed him to become the man that he's become. So I just thank you to everybody. He got to go back to one of the Ames games and got to meet several of the guys back there. Wayne, of course, was there, and Les, and and he likes to go with me and travel. He still likes to hang out with his dad, even though he's 43 years old. So we have a beautiful relationship. But I came to Iowa State I was actually born in the state of Georgia, but I came to Ames after being recruited originally by Johnny Majors, but the year that he was recruiting me, he left that year, and Earl Bruce, of course, came in, and I continued to be recruited there. And actually, I went to Pittsburgh to visit. That's where he went to, and I went to Ames, and I fell in love with Ames, and I guess the rest, they say, is history. Played in the mid-'70s in Ames, Iowa. Great experience. Made some wonderful friendships over the years, and just kind of look forward to always just getting together and sharing and having ideas and thoughts about all the guys and what we've done and what we've experienced. So I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and look forward to sharing and participating in this event as it goes unfolds.
Well, thank you. I was expecting Glover to come on. I don't know if he's going to. Wayne is going to be back on. I believe he's having some struggles with his, but we can obviously begin this conversation. What I need to do, because this is radio, I need to take a break. We need to get some advertisements in. And then I want to come in and I want to start the conversation with you gentlemen. So if you can hold, and we'll be right back after this. We are back with the week that was, and my teammates who is on right now. I'm looking to see it's Bob, Les, Ron McFarland, Ramsey J, and Wayne Stanley is back. Now I want to get into this, guys, because there is so much hate going on now. There's so much division. Everyone is lumping everyone into categories, and I've talked about this so much on the show. It's easy to separate, divide. This guy's black, this guy's white, this guy's Catholic, this guy's Protestant, Jewish, the whole thing. And we've got a relationship that, if we could bottle it, would change a lot of things. That doesn't mean we don't have differences, but we don't see those differences. We look beyond those differences. We look beyond those things to see what's truly inside of each of us. And we're there for each of us. For instance, Ramsey's son has become almost like, I love him like he were my son or a nephew. Wayne's kids with Demetrius and everything else that goes on, we become family. How did that happen? How if you were to tell somebody in the outside world, somebody walking down the street, how this happened, how did it happen? I'm going to let you just go with it.
Joe, if I could just quickly interrupt, I honestly think it's the blood, sweat, and tears for 4 years on a football field. One of my favorite movie is Remember the Titans. That was in the 70s. That was our era. That was our music. We saw the bond between those guys form, and I think that's how that same bond formed with us. I love these guys, same as you do. You know, I'd do anything for any one of these guys on this screen.
You know, I think it's even deeper than that. Coming from the inner city of Cincinnati and never ever being around someone other than my face, my black face, I had to go through 4 years of trusting Les or Bob Boss or Joe. And a lot of you guys know my personality back then. I was a mean guy. And now, after many years of reflection, I understood that I couldn't be what we call today separatist. Meaning, I used to think that if I I was a good team player. I loved football. Football didn't get in the way. But I always thought that I could not be white. I was raised with those kind of narratives coming up. And it made me think of myself as being a victim. And victimology, it does things to you. And I see that a lot. Now, I'm not talking about, I deny what happened to people of color. We know the history. We know all about it. But I was in the classroom for 30 years. And I taught mostly kids of color, Latino and Black. And I used to wonder, why aren't you trying to do your best? And I would talk to them all the time. And I would get those type of things, what I just said. And it was almost like an anti-intellectualism. And I saw the breakdown of the family. I was fortunate enough to have a father. He wasn't around all the time. And my mother died when I was 10 years old. Guys know my story. I was in an orphanage for a year and a half. I'm the prime person to hate. You see what I'm saying? And I blamed it all on racism. But now, as I've grown in my faith in Jesus Christ, I know there's only one race, okay? The human race. And I'm proud of my ethnicity. But it's going to take a lot of soul searching. And I tell you what, I'd rather have what we call a black dialogue. It's just like Frederick Douglass said, that question, he said, what do you want to do with the Negro? He said, leave us alone. Let us solve our own problem. You know, I said, you screwed us up already. So, you know, I think we ought to have a dialogue, a team meeting, so to speak, and not have this confirmational biases that remind us of woe is me and all this and that. And because I'm not a victim. So anyway, I could go on and on and on. I've thought about this, and it's not me. And when you have an opposite view, then you're viewed as a sellout. or you view as you get demeaned, and that's not what I'm about. Because I love Black people. I mean, I have Black sisters, my family, you know. But I've learned a lot from my wife because my wife is white, and so sometimes she thinks, "What's wrong
Wait,
with you? You Malcolm X or somebody?" You know. But anyway, I'll let somebody else speak.
Well,
well,
Joe.
I go ahead.
Okay, Joe. Well, like we were discussing the other day, in my household, we never had this discussion. I was raised in an all Black environment, pretty much, except when I went to the grocery store or shopping at the mall. That's when I came in contact with Caucasians. And then, as Les mentioned about this, remember the Titans. That was pretty much after my sophomore year in high school in 1970. They force integrated in the South, and we had to go to the cross town to the it was sparsely integrated school, which was Belgrade High School. And but prior to that, I went to school in New Jersey as a third grader. And then, like my fourth grade year, I think John Kennedy got shot, and I cried like a rat eating onions. Seriously, I admired him a lot, and Martin Luther King I admired a lot. So, and then, but going back to my third grade year in New Jersey, I had never gone to school with any kids that were actually Caucasian. So, actually, I did have that 1 year where I went to school with and interacted with Caucasians. And when I got there, I walked into the school. Of course, I was nervous. It's a new school. My mom dropped me off. I went in and I went to my class. And a little kid named Rocky, I can't remember his last name, but he ran up to me when I walked to the door. He ran up to me and said, "Hey, you're the new kid. Come on in." Boom. From that point on, I never had a problem interacting with anybody. I just looked at people as they were, you know, and how they treated me. And and so when I got to Iowa State, and I was okay with whoever it was as long as they basically treated me nice, like I would treat them, or treat me like I wanted to be treated. And so I just looked at people that way, and I accepted people that way. And when I got there, I didn't have a problem. And I pretty much have gone through my life after my third grade year, you know, just looking at people as they were, and that's how they treated me is the way I treated them. And so as a result of that, I haven't really had a lot of friction that way between races or between ethnicities, because like I was telling you the other day, I only believe that there's one race, and that's the human race, you know, and that's the way I believe I carry myself throughout life.
Amen.
I look at my brothers, and I love you, Joe, and I love Bob Boss, and I love Les Leonard because of the way you treat me. And then I hope that I live up to your expectations about the way I treat you. I love my brothers too. So, with that being said, I'm gonna let somebody else take the
You don't love me.
I've
lead
got
You
here.
to.
don't love Chicken Man.
I've got to. I've got to take. We've got to take another break, guys, and but I want to continue this discussion with Ramsey and with Bob's thoughts, and but I need you to hold a little bit while we take another break. Okay, we'll be
All
right
right.
back.
Not hearing anything.
We are back with my teammates, Bob Boss, Ron McFarland, Wayne Stanley, Ramsey J, and Les Leonard. I wanted to get Ramsey and Bob's take on this, but Les and Wayne and Ron, when we talked, and Ron, you kind of touched on it. But there is a going through a fire together, like Les talked about, coming from different backgrounds, learning how to trust. These are all important parts. But there's also a spiritual element to this, that looking into someone's soul, and understanding. Wayne and I talked about this the other day. It was like, it baffles me today that mere skin color, the color of one's skin, could separate people. And it just blows me away. And we've talked about it. I don't see that. When I look at you, Ron, I look beyond that. I look at Ramsey beyond that. I'm Wayne. And it's the same as looking at Les and Bob. But I want to give Ramsey and Bob a chance to kind of discuss how this happened in our lives, because we are very fortunate, and how we can, how did this happen? So Bob and Ramsey, go have at it.
Well, okay. I'll chime in here a little bit. I think that in part what everyone has said so far is all part of that mixture that made us become the group that we have become, and to experience what we have experienced here. And I like the way Les was talking about it came down to a situation where we came from all different kinds of backgrounds. We came from all different kinds of environments that we came to Ames, Iowa with. One thing that we had to realize is that if we were going to be victorious in terms of whatever our goals, our missions, whatever it was that we were trying to accomplish, that it required us to work as a unit. And within that unit, we were only as good or as strong, as viable is the weakest link. And whatever things you brought into that relationship, as far as backgrounds, belief, once we got there, we were going to be victorious. We had to depend upon each other. We had to learn to trust each other. We had to look beyond that 1% difference that we are, because really, in reality, 99% of us are all the same. And of maybe some exterior items, but if you get inside of all of us, we're 99% the same. And for us to be able to overcome obstacles, challenges that we had to face as a unit, we had to learn to depend upon each other. We had to learn to trust each other. We didn't have to necessarily be buddy and friend, but we had to respect each other, and we had to have a faith and a belief that we were all on the same team, and that team was to be victorious as a unit and as a group, and that we all had to learn to rely upon each other. And I think that we really fostered that as a group of individuals, as a group of people. Realize that for us to be successful, everyone had to be successful. And when we were successful as a unit, I was successful, Bob was successful, Wayne was successful, Les was successful. All of us were successful as a unit when we came together and overcome those challenges. And kind of grew on me, and I'm so grateful and so thankful right now for the relationships that do foster even to today. I just look forward to us just kind of getting together and hang out and catching up and see what's going on. But I think really the spiritual component was very, very important. I hear Sugar Bear talking about his faith, and I know Les where he is. I know where you are. I kind of know, and I think that played a very, very important role. that of us as a unit as well. And we just had some real commitments to each other for us to be successful as a unit. And I think as a country, as a nation, as a world, we're going to have to be unified if the human race is going to be successful. And that means breaking down these barriers, breaking down these things that would divide us, and try and build that sense of purpose and unity. And I think certainly the spiritual aspect of it plays very heavily into that as well.
That's interesting. And before I go to Bob, that whole you touched on things, Ramsey, that are crucial. That we all, us as a society, whether white, black, whatever, cannot rise beyond the weakest link. If we're all not rising, we can never reach the level we need to be as human beings and as a country, as a world, as a people, until everyone rises. And we have this mentality that if you have something, that must mean I can't. If I want to have more, I've got to take from you. And that we learn that lesson from football, that, if the guard doesn't make a block, the running back doesn't make any yards. If the running back doesn't get, nobody gets to the level of success without us all doing it. And Bob, I wanted to go to you with that.
Great segue, Joe. I think what we're hearing with everyone talking here is that the team experience was something that we all relished, because I think we all realized that we couldn't do things on our own. But the cool thing about this discussion has a lot to do with we experienced things together. And it wasn't always that we experienced things off the field together, but on the field, we understood our expectations. We knew what the game plan was. We've trained hard to do the right thing, and we tried real hard to do things. One of the things that my wife had said to me when I was watching football one time, she goes, "How do you know what someone's going to do that's not even in the play?" And I said, "You know what? I think we all need to experience." My experience is I always watch a person who doesn't anticipate that the camera's on them. See how they handle themselves. See that they make a block. See that they make a move. See that they're doing the right things. And it's those people are like the people that we have here today. Is that when you hang around with them, it doesn't make a difference whether they're on the sidelines or they're in the play. They understand what the roles are, and not part of that is being part of the team. So I think that's a big thing to understand. And I think what I see today with regard to, Joe, what you referred to is just a lot of unrest and stuff. I'm encouraged with things that are happening. I'm encouraged with the way that I'm learning more about what Ron and what Wayne and what Ramsey have gone through in the past and such, and understanding that just by hearing a lot of things are going on. And I know it's the other way around as well. So I think we were probably groomed at school with the environment that we had in a way that you just referred to as rising above the weakest link, because we had to. And I think we're in a point to where we really need to do that today. I will also say that the cool thing about what's going on here is that I've spoken probably to everyone on here more than I had my family in a number of years across the country. We're spread from Dodge City, Kansas to Minneapolis to Atlanta to all over the place. And the cool thing is that we've now been given the opportunity, just as we're doing here today, to kind of talk amongst us. And you're right, it doesn't make any difference what your views are, but you need to respect and understand that people have their own views. So when you say a brotherhood about us, it's family. This is the way it is. So the cool thing about the fact that we all talk about what we did when we were playing on a team together, I think the neat thing is that we're all wondering about what we're doing. And that's what we're doing here right now.
I have to ask you this. How do we convey. I mean, look, it's a fact of life. We're all older. We're the old guys now to a certain extent in the world. We've learned these lessons over time. But a lot of young people would think, nah, these guys don't understand what we're going through. How do we go ahead, Ron?
No, I was going to say, I've had the opportunity since I've come to Ames to sit down with some of the athletes here. Was in the mentoring program, and I went to NAACP banquet. And I was sitting there with basketball players. I was sitting there with soccer young ladies, and also football players. And I changed the narrative. The NAACP does some great things, but I noticed when they were playing "We Shall Overcome" and some of our traditional songs in the Black community, lift every voice and sing, they were on their phones. And I said, well, wait a minute. What's going on here? And they said to me, Mr. Mack, not out of disrespect, they're not talking our language. That was then. I said, I'm a young brother. He said, we want action. And I'm saying, wow, that is right. We need the old school who has all this experience need to sit back and listen and have those conversations if we haven't been. I mean, I talk to my nieces and stuff like that. And then they constantly yell at me and say, Uncle Roddy, I'm 36 years old. What do you think? I'm a baby or something? And so before I could, I usually start off a conversation and I say to them to get their attention, what's the greatest invention in the world? And they say Great Wall of China. They say all this materialistic things. I said, no, compound interest. And they start laughing.
That's funny.
You have to get their attention because the factor of trust. When I first came to Iowa State, I didn't trust much of nobody. And the only reason I got here was because of two buildings, or a plat and a building. And Jack Trice, they took me and saw his plat, and George Washington Carver. And see, they must did their homework on me because I read a lot of Marcus Garvey. I was into the Black Panther stuff. I don't know how they found all that stuff out. I need somebody to introduce me to Machiavelli. I could barely read that word. It was totally out of my environment. And I read it and I go, wow. And so, it's a relationship that is built. Now I love just about everybody. They can't get me to stop talking because they know how I was quiet, I was reserved. I'm a very competitive person. So the competitive piece didn't harm me because I looked at Bob Boss. If he would have been a defensive lineman, I'm taking your job. But I'm gonna put my arm around you when I knock you on the floor, on the ground. I'm still gonna love you as a brother because I thought that would make him better and make our team better. And plus, we had a great process here. When I read you that Greek poem, it was one of the coaches, and my father also, that reinforced that. And so I bought into it. Now, did I have a lot of trouble, steps, and as I was growing? Yes, I did. Because I used to think I had to make the most of every moment, every day. No, I had to slow down and smell the roses and say, no, they aren't any different than me. These are my brothers. Anyway.
Thank you. John is telling me we need to take another break. I apologize. I wish we could just keep going, but this is radio and we do have commercials and
just tell me when to
plus
stop.
I've got to make you're fine. You're fine. We're going to work it around what you have to say.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a little break here and then we'll come back and we'll continue this discussion. Stay tuned. We are back with, if you're just tuning in, this is something that I've always, my teammates. I mean, I have explained to people that there are over 100 of us that stay in tune with each other. Someone gets sick, people rally and pray for that person. Someone needs something, everyone rallies to that person. This is a large group of people, and it's represented today by Bob Boss, Ron McFarland, Wayne Stanley, Ramsey J, and Les Leonard. And I want to try and keep these answers. I have about 5 minutes before we go to the top of the hour and news and all that again. But I would like to keep you guys one more segment for another 15 minutes after that to kind of wrap things up. But we're going to have to keep the answers somewhat short so that we can get all this in. I'm sorry. No, this isn't reflection on anybody. We just need to keep them that way. Unless I wanted to get with, I wanted to get, and I'm looking at this and saying what we have together is unique. And even Tom Backus, who was at Ohio State and won a national championship at Ohio State and coached on our team, said that this is a unique group, closer than any group, even his group at Ohio State. How do we, Les, in your mind, and I want to get everybody's opinion on this, but we have about 5 minutes, so how do we use this incubator that we basically did and fell into and pass this on to, how do we take it and make it for our country, for our cities, how can we duplicate this?
That's actually tough, I think, Joe. Other than trying to get to as many people as we can, I live by a simple rule. If you bleed red, I'm fine with you. You know, I'm looking at 3 black guys and 3 white guys on this screen. I love them all. I am in a men's group in my church, and I encourage black guys all the time, and try to get more in, just to, like you said, we're older. I use the term nurture. Try to Ramsey used the term pour into. That's actually what my goal is. I'm trying to do with younger guys, pour the positive experiences of my life into younger men. So it's hard. You're a needle in a haystack. There's so many thoughts and ideas, and Ron was talking about his nieces, and there's so many different thoughts and ideas out there from people coming from all angles that you can just do your best to love them and nurture them as older guys.
But you have to get to know people. And that's the challenge we have today is with social media and everything else that, even we're doing it right now, although we're obviously at the point where we're closer. But with everything going on, people don't want to go out. It's uncomfortable to go out and to get to know someone.
Yeah, people don't know. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Oh, I agree. Anyone else? Wayne, you got?
Yeah, well, Joe, here's my take on this. Is that we can only do what we can do as individuals, and what you see of me with you, Bob, Ron, Les, and Ramsey is what everybody see in me every day. See, when I get up in the morning, I want to make God proud of me. I want him to approve of everything that I do and say to everybody. Now, I don't always say the right thing. I'm not perfect, but I try to be the same with everybody that I come across. Now, you guys didn't know these things about me because you saw me individually around campus. But every one of you guys on this thing, I had a relationship with on this screen right now. I had a relationship with, less with Boss because Boss didn't say much. I couldn't get him to talk a whole lot, but he kind of knew who I was by the way I carried myself and by the way I interacted with him. And when I saw him, I smiled. I saw you. I did that same thing with each one of you guys. And that's the way I live, and that's the way my family live, and those are the people I like to be around. But then the people like Ron, who was angry, I had a relationship with him. It was a little different back then because he was angry a lot.
But
But
you're
I had
hitting
a
on something,
relationship
Wayne.
with him on
You're
and
hit,
off the football field.
you're hitting on the fact that relationship. You have to have relationship. And I got to tell you, my relationship with Cy Bassett started with a fight, with a knockdown, drag out fight. When he came to school, the first couple days we were interacting, it was antagonistic. And we ended up rolling around on the ground fighting. And Cy Bassett became pardon?
You got to tell your audience that Cy Blaster was a brother from Iowa. Okay?
Yes, Cy Bassett. Cy Bassett, and he's from Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Yeah.
His father was a bishop in the church. His mother was. He and I became as close as you could possibly be to a person. It started out with a fight, and we had to have that confrontation in order to get where we needed to, where we ended up being. His parents became very close to me. He still calls my mother often to find out how she's doing. But it started out with friction. It started out with a fight. And so things aren't always pretty in relationships. And that's what you have to be willing to do. I need to step away again. Please forgive me. We have to have our news and everything. And I have to make the station has to make money so we could pay you guys. I'm kidding. But we're going to come back, and we'll be back real quick with my teammates to kind of wrap this up. Stay tuned.
Hey, Joe, I'd like. Oh,
Okay, we are back. Thank you guys
hey,
for
Joe, I'd
holding,
like
and I
to
want to
say
thank
one
you.
thing.
Go ahead.
That if my mother, I don't have any brothers, but if I had brothers, I would want them to be just like each of you. I love you guys with all of my heart.
Thank
Did
you,
I
Wayne.
just disappear? Somebody disappeared.
Technology, Wayne.
It was, you were all frozen
Okay.
for a moment. All right, what's up?
The host was frozen.
I know.
Okay.
Let me
I just wanted to
go
say
ahead.
that if I had brothers, biological brothers, I'd want them to be just like all of you guys. I don't have any brothers, but my brothers now
You
are all of you guys. And
well, and people don't understand how you mean that. I mean, because I would do anything for any of you. I would do anything, and that is, people hear that, and it's foreign to people. It really is today. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people when you say, I would take my life for you guys, and that's all part of it. Now I have to ask you guys this. We only have a little bit of time left, and this is a tough question, but I've thought about this. I've thought of why others cannot experience what we have, and we're very fortunate. Why others can't experience this, and I've looked into, I've talked about this. I don't feel that there is anyone in authority today who truly promotes unity. Everybody has an agenda, whether it be political power, money, whatever. But everybody has an agenda to keep us separated. And I'm going to even go this far. Even the term Black Lives Matter is separating us. Because when somebody comes out and says, no, all lives matter, they're kind of ostracized for that. And we don't have anybody like Martin Luther King to bring us together anymore. Everybody's got an agenda. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, Joe. The problem is when Black Lives Matter slogan came out, I immediately understood what it meant as a black man. But the underlying thing, when you get on a website and you read their philosophy, no, I don't ascribe to any Marxist agenda. So what it does is people aren't doing their homework, and then what you do, those who do their homework, they are objecting and say, yeah, Black Lives Matter, but also my life matters as well. They take it, they don't understand what they're saying is, you have not been listening to me. You need to listen to us. That kind of mentality and stuff like that. But the thing is, until you know yourself, okay, and us being athletes, we went through the process together. Some of us 4 years, some of us, in my case, 5 years, being at the university, and you're kind of, I ain't gonna say indoctrinated, but you're kind of like forced in a closet together to actually be get that whatever you had in your life kind of like meshing with other people from other different cultures and stuff. So it's a process. Now, for me, I decided what I tried to answer 3 questions. What is my purpose? Who do I belong to? And who am I? And once I reflected on that, and I like to write, and I like to reflect in that way. But the thing about it, we don't listen. We don't have any. We don't listen to the experts. I think that's the death. You know, it's like we got Google. We could Google up anything in 10 seconds and get an answer. And then I'm an expert, you know, all of a sudden. So, you know, we need more of these conversations like this. I will
But
shut
we
up.
don't. But you're constantly getting messages of separation.
True.
Yes.
You know, Morgan
I agree.
Freeman was asked. Morgan Freeman was asked one time, "How do we handle this racial problem?" And Morgan Freeman said, "Stop talking about it." And he said to the person who asked him, "I'll agree not to call you white, and you agree not to call me black, and let's just treat each other as human beings and stop talking about it, and it will go away." But people are vested in separating us, and it's frustrating to me.
Again, it's a process, Joe. You can't tell somebody to do that overnight. They got to want to do it. And it's just like I wrote once saying, just call me Sugar Bear. You know, eliminate the word, oh, I have a black friend at Iowa State, and just say, I have a friend at Iowa State. I have a brother at Iowa State, you know? But it takes the process. It's like how we process to work together as a team.
You know, Joe.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Joe. This is Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
What great messaging here. And unless people would be able to see who's on the screen, they wouldn't even know that we have black and white talking here in this whole situation. What I hear a lot about is that I think, in a lot of terms, your comment about how do we go ahead and incubate. I've learned. I'm in sales. I've learned my best years have been when I listened and tried to understand what's going on with some particular people, because when you speak after that, you're a credible person because you understand the pain and what's going on. So right now, I'm doing a lot more listening, and I'm not going to be working for very much longer, but it goes beyond work. It goes beyond personal feelings and such. I think what's neat to hear is that, and I'll go back to Les's comment where he's trying to indoctrinate people and bring people in. We're all great influencers. I think we don't understand sometimes how good we are at it, but good people want to listen to good people. And when you're doing things that people can honestly say, like Swain said, where he wakes up in the morning and wants to do everything that's right, that God wants to be proud of him, that's the way that we all need to be, whether it's God, your wife, your kids, or whatever. And I think when people start thinking like that, we don't understand that there's a lot of people that are watching us and trying to understand, why is that guy? It's the legacy. We all build our own legacy, right? And it doesn't have to be when you're gone. It has to be developing it as you're here. And we need to figure out ways that we can do what Ron talked about, where it's like Sugar Bear, not my black friend, that people refer to people as family, as understanding, listening to what's going on, and reflecting, and then bringing back to that to say, I might not like what's going on with that, but I understand now what's going on. So we're influencers. I think our experience together when we were playing made that even more critical for us. But probably the comment I would be was, good people are good people. Respect and understand and try to learn from them. And indirectly, we do that. I think as far as try to influence, I don't think we realize the amount of influence sometimes that we do have, whether it's young, old, or whomever, race, ethnicity, whatever.
Let me, and thank you, Bob, but let me come back to the original question. And this is the key from both of your answers, from Ron's answer and from Bob's answer thus far, is that it's an individual thing, because we really don't have anyone in authority or any leader who is willing to unify us. So it really, all your two answers were, you didn't say there was a person who could do this. It's individually. And then now I'm going to go on to Les and Ramsey and Wayne. Does that make sense?
Well, yes and no. I just think, I'm going to jump in there really quick because we do have people, but we haven't trusted them and we haven't let them. So, like I say earlier about the experts, we don't listen to them. I used to listen to Martin Luther King. I used to listen to Malcolm X. I even listened to Farrakhan because some of what he said was true until he got to the racist part. So it depends if they want to get out there and not say stuff that's detrimental to either side. You see what I'm saying? Because there are some that say things that are detrimental to either side to start that controversy.
It seems most today, but go ahead and comment, Wayne, Ramsey, Les, any one of you.
Well, I think that what the person has said so far is on point there. I think there's going to be some individual accountability. There's going to be some mentorship that everyone has to take on as far as responsibility. I remember a quote I once read, I think it's very applicable here, from Nelson Mandela when I was in South Africa, where he says that no one is born hating another person because of the color of their skin, the background, or their religious belief. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. And I think what I've heard people say is that we got to be mentors. Our life, how we live, we can be teachers. We have the greatest mentor in Jesus Christ that ever walked the surface of this earth. And if we walk with that love of him in us, and we demonstrate that on a daily basis in our sphere of influence, whether it's in our home, whether it's our marketplace, whether it's in the sphere of people that we encounter, whether it be our professional relationships, I think that we are teaching love through our actions. I heard Bob talk a little bit about this in terms of how we influence people. And I think it must start individually, as I've heard, as from Wayne, how you live your life. What are you demonstrating? What are you showing? Are you, in fact, showing the love of Jesus everywhere that you go and everything that you do? Because if you're doing that, that is the most powerful influence of change that there ever could be, ever will be. And he has demonstrated that by showing his love. I just think that we have a very powerful ability to influence things, to be about change. I agree we can't go back and change what has happened in the past. Certainly we can learn from it, but we can look at what we have right now and change ending. And I think each of us have that personal responsibility in ending. And I thank you, Joe, for having this kind of conversation, because it actually gives us the ability to have some impact and influence about making that this opportunity.
Well said, Rand.
Thank you, Rand.
Yeah, Joe, I think us as Americans, and God bless America today, I think we need to, as Americans, understand how powerful our words and our actions are to the rest of the world. I've had a friend I was talking to just the other day, and he was saying he's been all over the world, and all over the world, Black people are second-class citizens because of the way that we treat Black people in America. That was deep to me. I about came to tears, actually, thinking that we're the one that's leading this action or this belief. It's coming from here. So, yeah, we do need to change things, but every morning I'm going to wake up and the devil's going to say, oh, darn, he's up. he's going to go out and do some good stuff. If all of us just do that and try and impact the young people that's coming behind us this way, get them back into having some faith, because our kids have lost faith. They don't have any spiritual relationship with God. We've got to get back there too. We've lost it. Our parents, whether we wanted to go or not, we went to church. Mm-hmm. We went to Bible school, Sunday school. And I think that's going to go a long ways towards solving some of our problems. We just got to get back to a spiritual relationship.
Amen. Les, you want to close it out?
Oh, sure. I'm sitting here thinking of a verse, actually, Joe. It's in Philippians. It says, our citizenship is in heaven. And again, what I said earlier was, I'm looking at 6 guys on the screen here. We all bleed red. What's really cool is the All-American Ron McFarland texted me the other day and invited me to have lunch with him. And I was thrilled. And we can't go up to Ames, Iowa, because the COVID thing is upticking up there. So Ron's gonna come down here next Tuesday, and we're gonna have lunch with a former wide receiver, R.J. Sumrall, that played in the early 2000s. We're gonna have a great time. I cannot wait to sit down and have lunch with Ron. So again, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And as every one of you guys have said today, in a way to bond us together or help young people bond together, we need to make an effort to go after younger kids and love them. So there you go.
Amen. I love you all, and I thank you so much. I mean, you didn't have to do this. You have 2 guys, Ramsey and Bob, in California. Wayne is in Columbus. You 2 are in Iowa, and it's early and Saturday and all that. So I love you all. Again, I would do anything for you, and we have to together pass on this experience that we have all had that brought us to this point. And I just pray that we could somehow pass this on and get through the divisions and get through the labels and get through the categories and look at each other the way we look at each other and the way we look at each other on this board, and all 100 and some of us that are together and talk often. So love you all. Happy Independence Day.
That's why we live in America. We can voice in our opinion as long as we don't get emotional about it. Even though we're in different states, we're looking out the same window. God bless you guys.
All right, Joe. Love you.
God bless you. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Love you all, guys.
See ya.
Love all of you guys. Bye.
All right. Same here, man.
All right. Looking forward to that lunch. See you, Ramsey Jane.
All right, man.
Wow. Hit that 0. All right, it's done. Freaking Joe.
See you later, Wayne.
All right, man.